Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another off-season recap slash future season preview. Today, on this great Monday, we are covering the team who had the third overall pick in this past NBA draft, and that would be the Houston Rockets. A once promising potential championship contender only a few years ago with MVPs like James Harden and Russell Westbrook and Chris Paul contender, is now in a full on rebuild. So, boys, Jack, how are you doing today?
I'm great, man.
It's
I'm
been a while
great.
since we sat down. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Excited to be back with the boys. Hope you all had a great week. Let's hear about it.
yeah. All right. Dove, you look like you're just ready to talk basketball.
Well, yeah, let's talk hoops. We're here to talk hoops. Jalen Green, number one. The pick last year that there was a lot of animosity and reactions and quotes and things that came out of that draft. But Jalen Green ended up, starting the season kind of rough. We all saw it early on, but that's kind of what you expect from a young guard. He brought it together near the end of the season. He started really becoming consistent on a game-to-game basis, putting up, those 25, 20, 30 pointers. I love Jalen Green. You guys know I love Jalen Green. It's just, someone take the mic.
You love Jalen Green.
I don't like Jalen Green.
So yeah, we're going like
Darva
always.
loves Jalen Green. Everybody.
We're not gonna paint it like something that it isn't. From the start, Duve, and you can't lie, you can't stand up here and just completely lie like this. Like, we didn't love Jalen Green in high school.
Yes, I will say I agree. We did. We watched him grow. But then he talked shit about Detroit.
He betrayed us.
And now it's like I have to stand with the boys. I stand with Cade. And it's not he's a good player,
So
but I don't like him. I don't like him.
But that's my point. So then let me ask you this. Do you like him as a player? Do you love him as a player?
Last year I wanted Cade over him.
That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying.
No,
It's
a
a yes or no
but
answer,
before-
really. It's a yes or no. Do you love Jalen Green as a player, as a basketball player?
I think he shoots a little too much, but yes.
Right, exactly. I don't like him as a person. I genuinely do not like Jalen Green as a person. I think he's a stuck-up, snooty basketball player who's making $1 million talking shit about somewhere where he landed.
Strong words.
It's insane. It's a joke. But as a basketball player, we have to separate that. We have to admit that Jalen Green is a hooper. Like, he is a hooper. No?
Yeah.
You know what
He
I
is.
see? The only thing I see on this page right here is free promo for Credit Karma money.
No,
I had to get it. I had to get it off
bro.
my chest. I've been thinking it this whole time.
All right.
But you saying that is free promo.
That's literally, you just brought attention to it.
Speaking of what you just said, for those of you who are listening on Spotify or Apple right now, as always with all of our team rebuilds, we have a visual component. So
Look
on
at
this
that.
page,
Tune
like
in.
we were talking about, Jalen Green was our number
What a
one.
segue.
So on Hustle and Hoops YouTube, you can see the visual component. You can see our beautiful faces.
That's the promo.
See us talk about it. Yeah, that's free promo for us. So
there.
like always, we have our 4-star cores / pieces, and Jalen Green was drafted to be their franchise. They drafted him number 2 overall. Last year, there was an argument to be made that you might draft him number 1 overall. However, like Dove was saying, he did not have the best season. So because of that, they had another top 5 overall pick back-to-back years, and they drafted Jabari Smith Jr., someone who they did not expect to be there when they were drafting. So do you think that's a sign of something, Minden, like that other teams were passing on him? Or do you think it was more just those were the guys that they wanted?
I mean,
Like, did the Rockets luck out here? Get it? Like him falling
I
there? Or was that
I will say when Jabari wasn't selected first overall in this draft, I was very surprised. But that's because of what Vegas was saying and what Twitter was saying. I always thought Paolo was the best person in this draft. So I understood why they picked him number one. And OKC always wanted Chet. But that being said, they did get a number one overall worthy guy in Jabari. So this could be huge for them. We'll talk about fit. We will talk about it more when we get to the lineup, but they got the best guy available, and he might just be the best guy in this draft.
I mean, I mean, other teams passed on him for a reason. So, are you saying that only you can have multiple stars, multiple superstars on a team, but there's always one guy who's the guy?
Yeah.
JD, you think Jabari Smith or Jalen Green is going to be the guy of the future for Houston?
Oh, that's a difficult question. I think Jabari has the higher ceiling, but obviously this year it'll be Jalen. And I wanted to say about the draft thing real fast. The Rockets completely lucked out. They didn't have to do any work. They were at 3 and just had to wait for whoever was left out of the top 3. So they just took whoever was there. So that was very lucky of them. But Jabari has a lot of question marks around him because his summer league was kind of mid. He had a couple decent games and then he got shit on a couple games. Paolo doing some of that as well. So, I mean, he's young, he's raw, and he needs work. But I think for raw potential, Jabari was the best in this draft for sure.
Yeah. So, Dove, let's talk about players 3 and 4 on this list. That being 2 other former first round picks. There's a lot of former first round picks on this team now because they've not been good for a little bit. Kevin Porter Jr., who you described as a certified bucket getter, and Alperen Şengün. Which one of those guys you think is due to make a next step forward? Obviously, Porter's been in the league for a couple of years longer, but he's still quite young. Then Şengün had a promising rookie year. So do you think that's the correct? Obviously, you wrote this slide, but do you think that's the correct order? Like at the end of the day, like at end of this season, you think Kevin Porter Jr. is still the 3rd piece and Şengün will be the 4th?
So I think in production, Kevin Porter Jr. is going to give you consistently like that 3rd guy production. I think that's his next step is becoming his next step is taking a step back, if that makes any sense. In his aggression, in trying to score and things like that, and instead replacing that with an aggression to play make and provide for his teammates. And I think that is going to be his next step and why I put him at 3, because I think he'll excel at that role. 4, on the other hand, Alperen Şengün, I think he has the opportunity to make the biggest leap if given the chance. They didn't love him or Usman last year. They really did not give Alperen really any shine. Especially
I disagree with that. I think Alperen
no. Like when he performed, they didn't give him any kind of like real recognition for it, real reward for it. It was just
Do you mean to say give him his flowers?
Yes, Duve. I mean to say the Rockets didn't give Şengün his flowers. And I think if they do this year, they might see that he could be playing the role of a guy like a Bam Adebayo or that's the first guy that comes to my mind, and that's all I can think of right now. But the post playmakers, I think that's one of the best roles for a big man right now in the league, and I think he can play that really well. And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
sure.
Personally, I think KPJ, I think he's has had an overhyped career because he had, what did he drop a 50 piece?
That's not why he's overhyped, but yeah.
Yes.
but like he dropped the 50 piece. He just is. We talk about ball dominant guys a lot. He's
Pretty
ball
shivs.
dominant in a selfish way. Like he doesn't know when to give up the ball. He turns the ball over a shit ton. Like he averages assists, but that's like, I mean, I'm just not a huge KPJ guy personally. I think Shengun.
By the way, he had 11 assists on
Always.
that night.
Yeah, but like
I know you said
but would you describe him as a willing passer?
No, if his
okay.
shot's
no,
there, he's
yeah.
taking it
Yeah, if
Yeah.
times out of 10.
Like,
well,
that's what I'm
Doug,
saying.
I like what Doug said when he said his next step is taking a step back
Yeah.
because he in the future he's the future he might just be the future starting point guard of this franchise, and the point guard needs to be able to play make and give up the ball. And I'm not so certain he is that guy to do that. So his next step is definitely to take a step back.
right, because if it's
I
not
can agree
that,
with
then
that.
he needs to come off. Then
Yes.
he needs to come off the bench. If it's not that, then
Yes.
there's no room for him in the starting
Because
lineup.
he could
as
be
it
like
is
a
now.
Jamal Crawford type of player where he just goes out there off the bench and gets his buckets.
And that's like, I'm not saying he doesn't have a role in this team or this league, but as a starting
Yeah.
point guard for a team, I don't really see it, especially on a team that has a guy like Jalen Green who does a lot of the same
Who
things
was
as
a
him.
scorer.
Two
Yeah.
top 5 picks.
And a guy like Jabari Smith, who, like Duville said, and I kind of disagree with, like, I don't worry about summer league. I worry if what happens in summer league reaffirms what my concerns were before the draft. That's really it. Like, and it's not that I'm worried too much either. It's just like, yes, the shots didn't fall for Jabari, so that's really not a problem. I'm not too worried about that. It's shots won't fall every single time. His jumper looked good. He was taking good shots most of the time, except for some of those games near the end of them, like over the course of the game. It was his aggression. It was his aggression.
Like, let's carry this Jabari Smith
Sorry. Yeah.
talk into the draft talk, because all 3 of their draft picks, you can progress the slideshow here.
I had to
Yep. All 3 of the draft picks did play in the summer league, which is not super common. Like they played like pretty much every game. So like, Dov, you were saying essentially the moral of what you were saying is that summer league isn't overly important in terms of, regular season numbers necessarily. Like we've seen it in the past, like guys who have been summer league MVPs turn into nothing. But like some guys who, prove their worth in the summer league, end up getting a 2-way, show up. They had a busy draft. All these guys were first round talents for some people, and there's a very decent chance that all 3 are going to be in their 10-man rotation. We'll get to each of our individuals' 10-man rotations in a little bit. But I think everyone has the same consensus that they had a successful draft. And that starts with their
Yes.
first
Yeah,
pick in Jabari
absolutely.
Smith.
100%.
I was a
I-
huge fan of Tari Eason going into the draft. as
Yeah,
well.
I was gonna say, like, I kind of agreed with Duville about the draft thing, about the number 3 picks, but it's just like it's kind of a useless argument to make, because then you look at the rest of the picks they made both years, back-to-back years, or not just picks, but moves they made to get the picks. Where they grab Tari Eason, they grab Tai, they grab, what was it last year? How many was it? Shengun, Usman, and
Jalen.
Well, no,
Yeah.
I'm not counting. I wasn't counting Jalen, and I was counting the other guys they picked outside of the 3. But whatever. Either way, it's like Houston has been doing it right. They know what they're doing. This is what the teams who are in the top 5 should do. Top 10, realistically, is if you suck that much, go do something in the draft. Go
Yeah.
make some moves. And they went and did. They traded Christian Wood, because why are you as a team with whatever, and you're expecting to get the number 3 pick, keeping a guy who's eating up money
It's your
on your
team.
roster? Just
It was a good trade. I mean, like we saw with the other trades, like Jeremy Grant got just a first round pick. Like Christian Wood was not worth more than what they got for him. So
Dove, you were saying though that like you're saying the Rockets are doing it right when they know they're not going to necessarily be successful. They're going out and getting young guys and playing those young guys. And obviously, like you can't win with just young guys, and like that's not fair for the young guys. To have that weight on their shoulders. But at the same time, the only young guy who's really shown much promise of their draftees in the past few years of to like really step up and be a starter in this league, not necessarily doesn't deserve their spot in the league, because I think a lot of their guys have gotten that far, but is really just KPJ. Like I don't think they've really so far, no one's been like super and probably Şengün. Like
Contextually, I mean, just in the sense of like making draft, like teams with top 10 picks that just pick that pick and then don't do anything else in the draft. That's all I'm saying.
so
Is like
do you want to just start talking about the rest of their offseason? Like because that
I
was
think-
kind of their biggest
Yeah,
let's just get right into it.
that was their biggest thing.
Yeah. So obviously their off seasons began trading their big free agency acquisition from a couple of years ago, which was Christian Wood. They gave up a first round pick to get him, the first round pick that I believe turned into Isaiah Stewart in a sign and trade with Detroit. Like they were invested on him. He's a young player, and they let him go for role players. So
Role players
Who won't play?
Yeah,
who don't have veteran role players.
Yeah,
the good way of putting it.
Yeah, veteran role players. So
on a very young team.
those are very decent guys to have. Like if you're the
Yeah.
Golden State Warriors or the Philadelphia 76 or the Dallas Mavericks. But for the Rockets, that's not a very like good trade in the short term. But in the long term, they're thinking ahead. This guy's not going to be on their team. JD, what was your reaction when they traded Christian Wood away? Like, did you agree with that? Or he's like, he could be on this timeline. Like what, he's 26. Like he could have been on the timeline with them. Do you think this is them like throwing away another year, or you think this actually speeds up their rebuild?
No, I think it's understandable. They're getting Seawood's money off the books, and they said to themselves, "Hey, we're sitting right at 3. The top 3 picks at the draft are all big men. So we have Alperen Şengün, who we just talked about, had a promising rookie season. He's going to be there, and you have a top 3 pick, and that you're not going to trade away unless it's a can't say no deal, which we know they didn't get, obviously. So it made all the sense in the world. I mean, getting all these older guys, it doesn't make the most sense, but getting him off the books in the short term opens up more like playing time for Jabari now and these younger guys.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
yeah, I like it.
You like it. You like
That's
it.
what I mean.
Jack, do you agree with him there?
yeah, that's spot on. They knew they had a top 3 pick and they were getting a big guy. So they decided, let's get Christian Wood off our books and let's get a franchise guy.
Yeah.
And that they did.
Speaking of getting guys off their books, the reason I asked
Maybe.
like throwing away the season, but not necessarily, they bought out John Wall finally after paying him $47 million to sit on their bench the entire year. They're now going to pay him $44 million or however much he gave back to play for the Clippers this year.
Can you believe this all started with moving a couch?
I thought he fell down the stairs.
It was
That was
like an
after.
attic or something.
I mean,
Right.
what was it? What was
Don't
it
go
for
down
garage.
the rabbit hole now.
the ACL
Yeah,
tear was on
whatever.
the court, was it not? And then the Achilles injury was at home.
Yes.
It was one after
He was
another.
already injured and then they
Yeah.
fell
Yeah, you're right.
further
You're right.
injured himself.
Still.
But his runs at Miami, oh, those YouTube videos were clean.
So now that John Wall is off the books, who do you think stands to benefit the most out of that on the team, Dove? You think there's someone in particular? We said Jabari Smith has to gain from Seawood leaving.
Wait, from Seawood living or from John?
No,
John Wall?
I said for Jabari Smith had the most to gain from Seawood moving on. So who has the most to gain from John Wall moving on? And Dennis Schroeder, for that matter, effect as well.
Dacian Nix.
Wow.
I really, 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 really hope that they give Dacian Nix some run this year. I don't know if that's a realistic expectation, especially if you draft Ty where you did, and you're gonna like, I don't know. I don't know how an NBA coach necessarily makes those decisions and things like that. But if Dacian Nix gets the opportunity, I genuinely believe that he can form into the guy that we were talking about, KPJ, having to take a step back into. I think Dacian is that guy already. I think mentally he already is in that space of being just I don't know. I can't sit here and break down Dacian Nix's game because I don't feel like it. But what I do feel like is continuing to promo him, because realistically, who
Miss
are you
Flowers.
going to play?
Um,
Who are you going to play?
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
I didn't think John Wall would play anyway, even if he was on the team.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Just
But I
because
mean, now
like,
that
it's not
he's
like he's not
finally
good,
gone,
Office
it's
benefits
just-
the most.
and the fact of
Yeah.
the matter was that John Wall wanted to play. Like he said last year, he was willing to play
Right.
for the Rockets. And if they weren't
They
going to
said
buy
no.
him out, like, I mean, I guess they could have paid him $48 million to sit on the bench again. But, in terms of acquisitions this offseason, it was really headlined by those 3 draftees, but they also locked up Jayshawn Tate. But they didn't make any other signings beside that. They're a young rebuilding team. They're planning on running it back with the guys that they drafted. Like Dove was saying, they're building through the draft. They're making moves through the draft. What do you got to say, Dove?
This is where it ends, where I say them doing it right, by the way, this part. Don't do nothing. I know they don't
got
have a lot of money,
They have
but
so many young guys. They're not just gonna sign someone and take like one of their young guys out of the rotation.
It's fair. That's fair.
We'll get into the
yeah,
rotation.
Yeah,
we'll get
I mean,
into that. We'll get
let's-
into that.
Like, I think we can just get into it right now because
I agree. Let's
Let's just do it.
Yeah.
So I mean, we got a lot of assortment. If y'all don't mind, I kind of want to
Go
give
ahead.
my rotation first. So the way we typically do
Take the
things,
honors.
unless we know how a particular coach or team likes to traditionally run their rotation, like we know some rotation, some guys only run a 7, 8, 9 man rotation. We'll do it that, but in this case, most of the time we'll be doing a 10-man rotation. Who we think should be in that 10-man rotation, who will optimize their current success and their future success. So I think in terms of players, I think all of us will have the same starting 5. For me, that begins with Kevin Porter Jr. at the 1, Jalen Green at the 2, Jayshawn Tate at the 3. I got Şengün at the 4, and I got Jabari Smith at the 5. Now, before we were talking about this, there was a lot of argument about who the starting center would be. And I don't think they have a true center on their rotation, because I personally think Şengün was playing a lot of 3 last year. Obviously their roster was disheveled as hell, and like they were playing pretty positionless, and Şengün can do a little bit of everything, play the 3 through 5. But I think Jabari Smith's frame is just bigger, and that's not necessarily saying like you're just going to plant him in the paint, because that's not what's going to happen. But I think he will be the guy taking the jump ball. I think on defense, you're going to see him guarding the bigger man between him and Şengün. Y'all can say that later, but for my bench, I got Terry Eason, Josh Christopher, Gary Bird, Kenyon Martin Jr., and you need to throw a little veteran in there. Like, you can't run every guy under 25. Boban
Yes.
as the 10th man.
I'm with that. I'm with
And
the
especially because, like I was saying, they really don't have a true center.
I'm
like,
with the
Bo-
10th.
Boban's really the only true center on their team. So Jack,
I'll go next.
yeah, you
It's a
agree with me on there?
little different. I just I have Şengün playing the 5 and Jabari playing the power forward. But we'll see. They'll try them both.
It's
and
positionless. It's positionless.
it's whatever works for the matchups. In no particular order off the bench besides 10 and 6. Josh Christopher, KJ Martin, Tari Eason, Dacian Nix, and Boban at the 10.
So you had
Boban-
Knicks instead of Garrison Matthews.
Yeah.
which is fair. I love
It's fair,
Dacian Nix
yeah.
coming out of G League Ignite.
Yeah.
But I just don't see him. I will also say the Rockets last year were playing guys 25 minutes one night, 0 minutes the next night, kind of like the Thunder did last year. And I see that happening again this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I had okay, well, yeah.
This-
Same starting. I mean, it's go ahead
This
and
this is me assuming Eric Gordon
yeah.
is
Forgot to
not-
mention
all of
This
us
is
assuming.
all of
As-
us.
as of
all
this-
of us
all of
yeah.
us assuming.
As of recording this, Eric Gordon is still a rostered member of the Houston Rockets. We're under the assumption he will not be, or if he is, he will not
He won't
be.
play.
He will not be in uniform.
It'll be a John Wall sitch.
he'll if no one trades for him, he'll get bought out eventually.
But yeah, same starting
Go to the
lineup.
Wolves.
I don't know if there's that much to argue yet about the Jabari Şengün thing. I think there will be soon. I think there will be very soon. But outside of that, it's Josh Christopher. I think Summer League he showed us that he can both be extremely ultra
Absolutely.
aggressive, like the two, like that, off the bench scorer, spark plug, but he can also be somewhat of a cool-headed facilitator ish for the team. Garrison Matthews, Gary Bird, whatever you want to say. I think he's just a knockdown shooter. You got to put him in there off the bench. KJ Tari. And I wanted to switch it up a little bit, put Usman Garuba in there, give him a little chance at the
I just
center.
don't see him giving him.
I don't actually see him
a
getting any
chance.
minutes. I just would love
Yeah.
to see Usman Garuba get some run. Why not?
Yeah.
Throw him in there. I don't think you guys are going to be any better than you were last
Yeah.
year by
Yeah.
enough to make you say
It was just
fuck Usman
Boban for the
Garuba.
humans.
Yeah, of course. No, it's the Rockets.
Duville.
I got similar, just a couple changes. I have Jabari at my 3, Jay Sean at my 4, and Alpert at my 5. Jay Sean is 10 pounds heavier than Jabari.
He is a
and
4.
We've seen him. He's an engine. He's big body. Still hate him because he went to Ohio State. At my 6,
Big buddy bastard.
is Jacob, and then Garrison, KJ, Tari, and then my 10th man is Ty Washington. I really like him, and I want to see him get some minutes. And
Give
I
him
mean,
his
they have a
run.
lot of guards on here. I can't give it to Dacian Nix. I mean, if they had the spots, then maybe, but my guy is Ty. So that's what I'm rolling with.
Yeah, I mean, there's no wrong
All-
answer when it comes
no
to this
argument
team.
to be made
Yeah,
there.
like when it comes to this team, like everyone's gonna get a chance because they're still rebuilding. They're like we talk about teams like I was saying, like the Magic might compete for a playing spot. I don't feel the same way about this Rockets team.
Absolutely not.
I-
Bottom 3.
They have no experienced guys on their team. Like
Boban.
they're rookie. Like if we're comparing them to the Magic, obviously Franz had a
David
much
Nwaba.
better rookie season than Jalen Green did, and like their young guys they're just too young. So like everyone's gonna get a chance to play. It will
Yeah.
be led by the young guys. Jalen Green and Jabari Smith will have a chance to have very good seasons, and they're gonna learn a lot about themselves this year. I think that's the
Long leashes.
yeah, that's going to be the biggest like objective for this team is just learning what works, what doesn't work, what players are here for the long haul and which ones aren't. And that's going to happen. That's going to happen.
Don't
Might
be
not be-
shocked if some nights we see them play like 11, 12 guys.
Yeah, would not be shocked at all.
Yeah.
However, expectations are still low. So like they might not be getting the answers they
lowest.
necessarily want to see. So I think that pretty much wraps it up for the Houston Rockets. Thank you everyone for watching and or listening. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at Hustle and Hoops, Instagram at Hustle and Hoops, and subscribe to our YouTube, Hustle and Hoops. Like the video if you're watching on YouTube, please. It really helps. Thank you to any new listeners, new viewers who came. We had our best week on YouTube ever last week, so we really thank all of you guys. We're giving
go.
you guys your flowers. We appreciate
Hey.
it. We appreciate it more than you guys know. Like 200 views, Like we haven't had
Awesome.
that before. Like
It's awesome.
we celebrate any
Milestones.
accomplishments like
Coolest thing
that.
ever. Articles.
We celebrate.
podcasts, videos.
So thank you all so much for
On to the
listening,
next.
watching.
Over
Um,
under 20 wins.
I think
Under.
I think I'm taking the under.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Over
It's tough.
21.
And with that,
And that's it. So we'll see you guys for the
Peace.
next rebuild.
peace.
And yeah,
See
peace.
ya.
Peace.
Peace.